Hello world, welcome to the 91st video on my channel where I'm building my own digital assistant named Shane, like Jarvis from the Iron Man movies and comics. In this video, I wrote a code that gets the first name of the person who just checked into our login system that we created in our previous video, and then thanks them for checking in and tells them to have a seat. So this is the second video in my small business playlist, and we're going to start off in the database we just created in our last video. So we have this table called customers. Okay, so we have 3 records that we made in the previous video, and the customer is going to come in and put in their last name. So let's do a new entry, Smith as the last name. First name will be Richard. First time here, sure, we're not going to use that. And then we'll use today's date. Okay, so we're going to check in. Alright, and that's pretty much it. So that's what would happen. So if we exit out of that customers and go back in, the last record is Richard Smith. So let's save this, exit out of it. And then we're going to run the code real quick, and so you can check out what it sounds like. So let me uncomment a lot of this code. And then we're going to run this.
Hello Richard. Thank you for signing in. Please have a seat.
Alright, so it got to his first name, Richard, and told him thank you for signing in and please have a seat. Pretty cool. So let's check it out. So first we're going to use a library called pyodbc, and you can use this to look at any database, so Excel, Access Database, and SQL. So first go to your command and pip install pyodbc. Then you're going to import pyodbc. Don't worry about this. This is my own function that I created using the Python text-to-speech, and that's how I was able to have it talk. But you could just skip that for your project. The first thing you need to do is create this driver. So if we go back to check-in, which is what we called our database, and we open the file location, and you can see it's let's see what kind of file it is. So properties. So it is a access database, ACCDB. Older ones have MDB. So you have to set this driver. These are curly brackets, so I hope you can see that well. Then you tell pyodbc where it's at, and you call that the file path. So mine's in my documents, and it's called check-in, right? So those are strings. And then you need to open the data source function. So what we did was go my data sources equals pyodbc dot data with the lowercase d and sources capital S. Now pause here if you're just quickly going through my code, because you're going to probably get an error, especially if you're using Windows. So let's comment the code and let's print what is in this function right here. So let's put this on its own line. So we're going to print this my data sources and see what's in here, and only if I could spell it right. My data sources. Okay, so let's run this and see what's in here. So mine has this list of the different drivers, and that's what these are. So we have a database driver for files labeled this. We have Excel files, and then we have these files right here, Microsoft Access drivers. If you run this code right here and you get a empty list, this is what an empty list look like, 2 curly braces. Or if you try to skip this step because you went too fast in my video, and you get this error right here, pyodbc.interface error, these drivers can't be found, then you need to go here, and I will leave a link to the description. And then I have Microsoft Office 365, so you have to download this, and this is basically the Access driver, and that's what you need. So I needed this right here, Access Database Engine. So the reason why you need this driver is because it prevents a Python and Windows 64-bit to 32-bit mismatch. So without the right driver, they can't talk to each other, and that's actually a problem in many programs I've experienced. So that's how you fix that. So I'll leave a link in the description. So make sure that when you run this code, you have a list of drivers like that. And we're going to call one of those drivers right now called this access driver. So you're telling pyodbc that we're going to be calling a Microsoft Access Database. All right. So then, if you're familiar with SQLite in my SQLite videos, you'll see that most of this looks exactly like a SQLite uh, function. Because what you do is you create a connection right here. So you can call this connection, if you look at the documentation, they use con and cursor. So you're going to do pyodbc.connect, pass it the driver, and pass it the file path. That's here. We designed those, or we reference those here. Let me comment that out. Then you're going to create a cursor. So cursor equals the connection that we just did right here, dot cursor. And then just to make sure it's working, if you have multiple tables, you can print out the table list. So let me comment that out. So you can do table list equals list cursor dot tables. The cursor is what we defined up here. And then we can print this list and see what that looks like. All right, so there are going to be a lot of system tables, right? So Access has its own system tables, but you want to just scroll all the way to the end, and depending on what kind of IDE you're using, I'm using PyCharm. Here, this is the table I'm going to be referencing. Capital C customers, and we saw that in the Access database. Then you can, using SQLite, or SQL I should just say, syntax, you want to execute a query, so cursor dot execute. Let me comment this one out. And then we're going to select all from customers. So if you have a different, what's it called, table, then you want to change this to your tables. So it doesn't look like it is capitalization. So because my table has a capital C, this has a lowercase c. And then we can do, again, standard SQL syntax, but you could do for row in cursor dot fetch all, right? So you could do a fetch one, which fetches one record. You could do a fetch many, which fetches many, and you usually pass in how many you want. Or you can do fetch all. We have a very small table right now, so this won't break our system by going fetch all. And those are the four inputs that we have in our tables right now. So this was the first entry that we did, second and third entry that we did in the previous video, and this is the one I just did in front of you. So the yes or no or true and falses, that's the data type, because now we're reading it from a Python SQL lens. And then it's a date time. So this is good information because now you can manipulate it using Python. So let's comment that out. And then what I want to do is a fetch all. So I created a variable called last customer's record, and then I'm going to fetch all of the records. Now, I only have 4 items into 4 rows in my database. So what I would really need to do is just check the last one. So I could do a fetch one if I wanted to, but I didn't. Then I just want the customer's first name. So this one I'm getting the whole row. And then this one I just want the first name. So what you do is the last customer record dot pop. So pop is how you get the last record in a list. So this is a list right here that it printed out. This is the last one. This is just standard Python capability. So you can do dot replace. This one's dot pop. So we can see what that. And then I want the second index, or index number 2, which is actually the third item. Programming starts with 0. So 0 is the customer ID that Access automatically assigns. So that's 0. The number 1 is last name, and the number 2, the second index or the third column, is the first name that I want. So we can print just that. And there you go. That's the last record. So we fetched everything. Then we just did the last one. And then I just put out the first name. And then I can use my custom Python text to speech to use that record and tell the person, hello, thank you for signing in, and please have a seat. So let's check that out.
Hello Richard. Thank you for signing in. Please have a seat.
All right, there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing to my channel, liking this video, and leave a comment if you're working on something similar. Thanks for watching. Goodbye, world.